Well, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, but we are in company of two great businessmen who have started their own companies. They are originally from Mexico, very creative people, very brilliant, entrepreneurial. They have had this effort and they have created no more and no less than Pablo's Aviation Instruments and Sebastian's Aviation. As you know, I have been with Jacob's Avionics Instruments for a couple of years. But well, let's welcome Pablo and Sebas. Gentlemen, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Everything's normal.
Very good. Thank you very much. Let's begin interviewing Pablo, who is an engineer. Pablo, you have started a nice company by the name of Pablo's Avionics Instruments. Can you tell us something about your company, please?
Yeah, it's a very simple concept. We sell aviation instruments to different companies. Right now, we are in a very good point of our process. I founded the company 10 years ago when I finished my career, and I think that we have been growing in a very good level.
Very nice, very nice. Sebas, do you have some questions for Pablo, probably?
Yes, I have some questions. How has your experience been working with the company?
Well, I think that it was my best experience working, and because I began working in this area when I began my professional practices, and I think that one of the most important part of my process is that I have friends in the company, and that we could see the difference between a friend and a teammate. That is very important. Put the limit because you keep the professionalism and you could work with a very good way.
Thank you very much, Pablo. How does it feel to have a Mexican company that manufactures avionics instruments? Is it pride? Do you feel pride? How do you feel?
Well, of course that I'm proud of what I have of the company that I have, but I would like to have more. Uh, of course, that right now we are positioned in a very good way here in Mexico, but we think that we could be better. So that's what we are looking for.
Thank you very much. Sebas, you want to ask him?
Um, well, uh, uh, what is your best part of your work?
Well, I think that the best part of my work is that I could visit all my clients in all the world. Right now, I have visited too many cities around the world, like the principal city, of course. Well, the principal country, of course, is the United States because we need too many materials for them. But other here in Mexico, of course, to Europe, and in some parts of Asia, but I think that we could visit more places, and it's very good if you have a personal relation with your clients, because you could check all the process of your distribution, and you are gonna have better results.
Pablo, I understand that you studied in one of the most prestigious universities in Mexico. Can you tell us the name of this institution and can you tell us how it helped you become a big businessman and entrepreneur that you are now?
Yeah, well, I study aeronautic engineering in the Polytechnical Institute. Of course, that it wasn't easy. Nothing is gonna be easy in this life, but I think that the beginning of the company was when I began my social practices, because I knew too many people there, and too many people opened me my the doors of the processes in the companies, and that was the beginning of it could be my partial success.
Very nice, very nice. More questions, Sebas?
Yes. What application does the world have that you are currently doing?
Well, right now we are just doing aviation instruments. You know the instruments in the cabin, all the instruments that are very important to prevent a crash, a plane crash, and it's very important. All these instruments, but we try to see all the areas that we could work. Maybe in the next years we are gonna begin to do engines, or maybe we are gonna begin to do the flies or something like that, depend of the growing of the company. But right now we are just focused in this area.
That's truly, truly interesting. Well, there was a very smart kid that also studied at the Polytechnical Institute that is now working for a French company. He's a fantastic kid also. And he also graduated from top class learning English. And he's working now for this French company in Querétaro called Safran. He's a smart kid, very, very smart kid as well. And he helps design the manufacture, the design and manufacture the landing gear of the Airbus 380, which is a French aircraft. How do you, Pablo, how do you uh, like the instruments that Airbus, the French company, has in their parts of their avionics systems? How are they in comparison with the instruments from Boeing? Or are they universal? What do you think about that?
Well, of course, that it could be, you could apply it in some areas, but not in all, and not with the parameters that we have, because of course you know that in some areas is different the parameter in maybe in the sky, or maybe with different temperature, or with some conditions that you need to be very specific. But of course that we could apply it in too many, in all in different areas, but right now we are just focused in the aviation.
Okay, thank you very much. Sebas, do you want to make one last question, please?
Yes. Um, if you decide to work in another area, what area could it be?
Maybe in the automotive engineering, because I like the cars too, but it depends of the time or something like that. But maybe I could choose that area.
Thank you, Sebas. Thank you, Pablo. Given the similarity, actually, that's a question. Which are, in your opinion, Pablo, the similarities between the aviation industry, the aeronautical industry, and the automotive industry? Which are the similarities that you can consider?
Well, that maybe you could apply too many programs or too many factors in physics or fluids or thermodynamics, but it's not the same, of course, because you have more factors that could apply in your case in the aeronautic area. For example, the temperature, the atmosphere, or something like that. And maybe with a car, you are gonna work with normal conditions, or conditions that you have data. So I'm not telling that it's more difficult, the aeronautic, but you have to work with other factors.
Of course, of course. And also considering the manufacturing aspects, is not the same to manufacture 1,000, $50,000 vehicles that one, two, or three, or 10, a fleet of $10 million aircrafts, right? So it's probably less volume, but higher cost, whereas in the automotive industry, it's the exact opposite. Okay, well, thank you very much. We congratulate businessman Pablo Lopez Hernandez, owner and general manager of the company Pablo's Aviation Instruments. Now we're going to interview another great businessman, another smart businessman, very young, by the way. His name is Sebastian. Sebastian, hello. How are you? How are you today?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
We are excellent. We're excellent. I'm here with another businessman that you know is a friendly competitor. He has another company. His company is Pablo's Aviation Instruments. He was the founder of this company 10 years ago. And now we are three competitors in the same area. That's yourself, Sebas, with Sebastian's Aviation, Pablo with Pablo's Aviation Instruments, and myself that started a small company 2 years ago called Jacob's Avionics Instruments. Well, Pablo and I are going to ask you a few questions, Sebas. Pablo, do you want to start, please?
Yes, I'm gonna begin with a simple question. That is, what happens to us if the instrument fails? What happened in that
Well,
situation?
we know that the all the instruments are for aviation companies. We know that if one instrument fails, it's very dangerous. Uh, it can be uh, the plane can crash, or yes, it can crash. For that reason, we confirm that the instrument worked correctly before to put it in the planes. Yes.
That okay. So that means, Sebas, that you consider security of the aircraft and security in the design of the instruments a priority. Is that so?
It's a very big priority. It's a very big priority. It can, if we lose that priority, can we can have a big accident. People can die in for that instrument.
Wow, that's truly important. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have Pablo continue with the questions.
Yes, I have another one. It's, do you have measures necessary to avoid accidents?
Yes, we have it. We first confirm that the piece is correctly and in a um, in a plane that it's not to fly it, it's not tripulated, and we confirm if it's working correctly. It's a good form to know if the instrument it's in good conditions to stay in a reality, stay in the reality.
Wow, that's really nice. Okay, Sebas, I have a question myself for you, please. And what is the hardest part of your job, and which is the easiest? Which is the part of your job that you find most difficult, and the part of your job that you find most interesting, Sebas?
Well, I think some parts are hard, like in all the words. I know that all the words have a hard part, but I think it's mm, it can be the the it can be um, the part of put the instrument in some, well, search what company can want the instruments, because we have a lot of competitions now in this part, and it's hard because, yeah, because a lot of aviation companies have a lot of other companies that can give the instruments. I think it's a hard part.
Somebody mentioned, some of our common friends have mentioned that when Pablo has excess work, he sometimes has subcontracted some of the operations or some of the construction of some instruments with your company. Is that so? How nice it is that there is competition but also collaboration, right?
Well,
Pablo's company has excess work and he cannot do the whole of it, so he can subcontract your company. That's very nice. How does that happen?
well, well, it's good the competition because it can be it do that you want to be better, and when you stay when you collaborate with someone, it's incredible because you know more about them. You know why he do that, why he likes to do that he do. It's a very incredible experience.
I think it can also work in reverse, right? Because sometime in the future down the line, even the strongest companies have had difficult times, and it is time to, they say that you pay love with love, right? Somebody helped you, now it's time for you to help them, right? So it creates like some type of a Japanese or Jewish style of collaboration where everyone help each other. That is just fabulous. Well, thank you, Sebas. I'm going to have Pablo ask another question, please.
Yeah, sure. I have another one. As what instrument that you design is the most important?
Well, I think all the instruments are important. I don't have um, preference to one to say, oh, that is the most important. No, all the instruments are important. If one are not in the plane, I can have a accident in the plane. All the instruments are important, all of them.
Very nice. Very nice. When we talk about materials, to build a plane, we need fiberglass, we need copper, we need steel, we need aluminum, we need all kinds of metals and materials, Sebas. Which ones do you consider that are the most important, the most necessary for the manufacture of the aircrafts? And not only
For
the aircrafts, but for your work, I mean, for the components that you need for the instruments, in addition to the integrated circuits,
well,
breadboards.
well, obviously we need steel to make the instruments, and we need glass, obviously, and aluminum. Yes, I think all the materials are important in the company are very important. All the materials that we use, we don't have the preference in that. Obviously, we use one material than another material. We use more, and I think there is three important materials now: steel, glass, and aluminum.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay, well, gentlemen, businessmen, thank you very much for your comments. Now I'm going to present Jacob's Avionics Instruments. Well, I don't know if you have questions or comments about this company, but it's very new. And it all started because one day they loaned us two Horizon detectors, and they asked us to do reverse engineering from a Chinese company. And unfortunately, Jacob, my pet, ate one of the instruments. So I said, well, now as a penalty, we're going to name the company Jacob's Avionics Instruments. And that's how we found the name. I don't know if you are interested in knowing something else about the company, but we have. 2 years in the market.
Yes, I have a question. How do you manufacture an artificial horizon indicator?
Well, first of all, we get the specification from the customer, the clients, which are mainly Russian companies. Mirage is a French company too, and Lockheed, Lockheed, which is a military aircraft from the United States, and Mikoyan, which is a Russian company, they give us the technical specification, the diagrams and the components, and we discuss the request for quotation with the engineering team. So we take the specification to engineering. We discuss it with engineers. We tell them, look, the client wants this type of devices, this horizon indicator. Can you build it? So engineering checks the specification and then they decide, you know what, this is very easy, this is complex, this type of characteristic is difficult to get. This type of integrated circuit is not currently in use. We need another one. So we get the specification and we discuss it with engineering. When engineering makes observations, we contact the client and we ask the client if there is a way to bypass, to avoid, to change, to replace, or to modify the original design. If they say that it's absolutely impossible and we don't find a way to solve their technical requests, we normally go to one of our competitors. We typically ask Pablo's Aviation Instruments if they can manufacture that. If they accept our recommendation, then we make modifications to the request for quotation, to the technical specification, and we modify it and we submit the new design to our client. If the client accepts, then we go to procurement or purchasing, and they purchase the components. Once they bring in the components into Mexico, we assemble them in the laboratory and we produce a prototype. Once the prototype is ready, we send the prototype with 2 copies to the client for him to test. If he is happy with the design, then we mass produce it. Probably they're going to want 300 units of these horizon indicators. If that is so, we ask them to bring a quality engineer to inspect the quality of the instrument that they want to need. And after that, we continue with the production process, always maintaining the quality by being checked by 2 engineers, one of our own company, internal quality control, and another one from the client company. We ask the quality engineer from our client company to come to Mexico, to come to our facility and inspect the process and give the okay to every stage of the manufacturing. Finally, Sebas, we test the instruments that they conform or they comply with the specifications. And once they are ready, we ship them to our client and we submit the invoice, of course, and then we collect the money. That's simple it is. The only problem is that when we send the instruments to Russia, to France, and to the United States, they just want that the currency that we get paid is in pesos. They prefer to pay us in euros or in dollars, but we prefer to be paid in Texas in pesos so that we pay less taxes. But okay, that's just a technical issue. But that's the answer to the first question, Sebas. Do you have other questions, Pablo, Sebas?
Yeah, we have another one. That is, what is the resolution of these instruments?
Well, for example, we have the horizon indicator. As you can see, it measures the level over the horizon in degrees, so he can be at 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees. So the resolution is normally every 10 degrees, and after 30 degrees is every 15 degrees. And as long as the altitude, we talk above altitude in terms of meters, 10 meters, or below altitude, below the horizon, that is if the aircraft is very low, and then it's in terms of 10 meters, 10 meters, and with a sub resolution of 5 meters, Pablo. That is what we have. So normally can go in degrees and degrees in resolution of 10 degrees. After 30, we go in resolution of 15 degrees. And in terms of meter, the central graph, it goes in resolution of every 10 meters, excuse me, is a bar. So that's how we manage the resolution, Pablo.
It's very interesting, teacher, because we are agree with you in all the points that you present.
Very nice. Thank you, Pablo. Other questions, Sebas? You want to ask something else?
Yes. Which is the engineering principle under which this device is designed and operated?
Well, truly is not very complex. Is because the aircraft is close to landing or close or taking off. We use a sonar principle, which is that one that bats have and sonars have, which is that we submit a signal, a noise signal, an audio signal from the aircraft into the ground, it bounces back and it takes some time, so we measure the time, and that's is how we calculate the distance from the aircraft to the ground. It's a very basic principle um, of sonars have, right? So you send a sound signal, it bounces back and it takes a time to come back, and that way we measure the distance from the aircraft to the ground. It's really basic. We also have some way to back up this information with a meter from the ground, because the control tower also has a way to measure the distance from the aircraft to the ground, and then we contrast it. If there is not enough, there is not a great difference, divergence, then we consolidate that information. Otherwise, we take a second or third measures. But that is the basic principle of this instrument, Sebas.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And I have another question. It's which are the main clients for this type of equipment?
Well, we developed a similar strategy as Pablo. In this case, we made friends in the government of the state because there was a policy in which they wanted to impulse, to bolster the aeronautical industry. That's why they built an industrial park in Silao and in Irapuato, where they want to give impulse to the aviation and aeronautical factories. One of the main strategies of the government is also to develop this cluster, the aeronautical cluster. That's why they opened a new career in the Polytechnical Institute called Aeronautical Engineering. And they are also trying to bring companies from Europe, Russia, and the US into Guanajuato with the idea of exploiting our fantastic quality and aircraft hand labor that we have here, plus our engineering. And now that we have some businessmen that have their own companies, like these three companies, which are Sebastian's Aviation, Pablo's Aviation Instruments, and Jacob's Avionics Instruments, the government has given some impose some monetary incentives and some tax cuts. For example, we are not paying taxes these first 2 seasons because we're just beginning with our company. So we told the government, the state government, hey, give us a chance. We're just beginning with our company. We have 2 years in operation. Give us 5 years, like you gave to General Motors. You gave, I think, 15 years to their American company. So give us at least some 2, 3, 5 years of tax cuts that we don't have to pay taxes or pay the minimum, and that will create a lot of jobs. And they were very polite, very friendly, and they allowed us to not pay taxes for the first 5 years. So that's how we did it.
We have the last one, teacher, that is what other companies manufacture these instruments? We know that we are part of these aviation instruments, but of course, you have to know more clients or more companies that are interested in beginning this area. I don't know if you could answer this question.
Yes, 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 of course. Some of the companies, well, they asked me to be not mention some of them, uh, but only because we are close friends and this is going to be confidential. I'm going to tell you that Lockheed makes some of them. Another one that makes them is Mikoyan, of course. Mirage makes some instruments. This in France, Mirage, and obviously uh, in Mexico, Aeromexico started to manufacture some of these instruments with a sub-supplier that manufactures these. So these are some of the companies that manufacture these instruments in addition to Sebastian's Aviation, Pablo's Aviation instruments, and Jacob's Avionics instruments. They are good, I have to admit. They are not bad companies. They manufacture instruments for the military industry, so they need to be not only good, but they need to be really, really, really good. As you can see, Lockheed has many good clients. Raytheon is another one. Raytheon and Mikoyan, sure, Mirage, Aeromexico. They are good competitors to JAI, Jacob's Avionics Instruments, Pablo's Aviation Instruments, and Sebastian's Aviation. So, well, that's it. I would like to thank the panel. I would like to thank engineers Sebastian and Pablo for their presentation. Thank you very much, guys, and see you soon, and congratulations for your companies.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the broadcasting now.